Fans, real talk should be a unanimous decision.
Face facts, what up, what up? Real fans, realtalk.com. Where Arthur Diamonds, Trip Young, and intern Tom. For the white and black fans, Asia to Manhattan. I get all my facts from my bro, Mark the Statsman. If you're not tuned in, I recommend the CAT scan. And if your brain checks out, then you deserve a backhand. Sports, gossip, all the hot topics. Real fans, realtalk.com got it. They got the hottest bloggers.
Is Jeremy Lin hurt?
Well, log onto the site and you can hear it from them first. I'm talking about the latest. I'm talking about the greatest. Go check out the archives. Even tell a neighbor. Tell them Bobby sent ya. From spring to winter, tuning in should be the only thing on your agenda. Certified cosign. You know what I'm about, son. Real fans, realtalk.com. I'm out.
No. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of Real Fans, Real Mark the Statman Skevich. As usual, I'm joined by the one and only legendary Trip Young.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back right here on BronxNet for another very live episode of Real Fans, Real Talk. But Statman, I'm gonna let you lead us off with this sports thing.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that I don't have to wear that horrible Boston Red Sox hat that both of us had to wear last week because of losing shot for shot. And then to make it up, the Yankees do what they always do. They demolish Boston 10-2. And I was loving it. And also a little stat for you guys. They got 38 home runs against the Red Sox so far this season, which is the most in the history of the rivalry. So the Yankees definitely made up for that one. Before we get into football, I just had to throw that out because my head was burning. I don't know about you wearing that Boston hat last week.
Yeah, and what it was, I realized what it was. We both needed to do that. We needed to have those Red Sox hat on because it turned the tide in the race for the AL East title because they've been battling it out with Baltimore these past couple of weeks. But what they did yesterday to the Red Sox, you know, they smoked them 10-2. CC was looking very good, you know, looking like his normal self, and we're looking very good going into the playoffs. We clinched that spot, so now, you know, we still got to hold it down. We got that one-game lead over Baltimore right now, but we got the Red Sox again tonight. You know, looking to spank them one more time. I know Baltimore, they going up against Tampa, so Tampa, do your job and shut them down again. You know, give us a little added help. And we gonna make everything good because once the playoff starts, we're not slowing down. We're going for that World Series again. You know, we need that. We need that next one. We're trying to have more World Series than there are teams in the league, and one more and we tie it. So you know we got to get there though. But we did have. I know this is.
I just want to mention a couple other stats that happened yesterday because it was a nice little historic day against the Red Sox. A-Rod surpasses goes into the 5th spot for all-time RBIs, which is huge. So you have Derek Jeter in the hits category in history, A-Rod also in the RBI category, and it's only the 3rd time in Yankees history that they had a 4 home run inning. So the Bronx Bombers were doing their thing, but I know we got to move on to football and
yeah.
Another good day.
Wait.
Another good day. Well, go ahead, Drip.
Let me lead this one off because I know Sean Fontaine is around the building. He's not on the set with us today because you know they got that man working hard. He's one of the hardest working people here at BronxNet. But I gotta put him on blast today because he did lose shot for shot last week. He was supposed to be wearing Eli Manning jersey this week, but he'll be wearing that next week. But more importantly, his Cowgirls, they got spanked last night by you know those Bears from Chicago. Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall ran all over those boys, and it's just funny because you know I was at the station the other day, had a little conversation with Mr. Fontaine as well as our EP. You know, who's also a Cowboys fan, and they kind of went in because the Giants lost by 2 to the Eagles the other night, you know, and a little bit of a heartbreaker by a field goal, and they were kind of going in, and then of course you turn around on Monday Night Football and they get spanked. Tony Romo, 5 interceptions. On Monday Night Football, that is embarrassing. And Fontaine, when you come back on next week, we definitely gonna be talking about this one. We're gonna backtrack because you know it was just sad what happened to your Cowgirls last night.
It's 5 interceptions, and that makes Tony Romo the only active player with multiple 5 interception games. So It's not the first time he's doing a trip, Young. Him and them Cowgirls. He
Also
likes
on Monday
throwing
Night
them
Football. The last time we did it was Monday Night
also
Football.
Monday Night Football, which makes him the first in history to have multiple on Monday Night Football. So
yeah,
it's definitely an embarrassing out for Tony Romo and the Cowgirls. And Fontaine, you will be wearing that Giants jersey in the future when you show face again. I know you're hiding because of the shot for shot loss and wearing the Giants jersey, and also having the Cowgirls get embarrassed. So
yeah. Well, listen, I got to say this because what's going on with Tony Romo there, and he couldn't take that. He couldn't take that pressure of being on the big stage on Monday Night Football. And he threw those 5 picks. 2 of them went back for touchdowns. The defense was all over the field. That Bears defense is looking crazy, and the chemistry between Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall is looking like it's back to the Denver days when they were both in Denver, and it's kind of crazy how things went down. But Brandon Marshall, he looked very good on Monday Night Football, and now the NFC East is looking a little bit better. The Eagles are still up 3-1 in first place, and the Giants and the Cowboys are both tied at 2-2 on the season, and the Redskins, of course, are trailing at the bottom at 1-3. So we're not worried though. We'll be back next week. The Cowboys, they got a bye next week, which they definitely will need, because after that beat down that they took, they're gonna need a little breather. And when they come back, they gotta go to Bmore to see my Ravens. And just letting you know right now, Uncle Ray is gonna be putting Tony Romo down on the ground a couple of times. So watch out for that. When they come back from their bye week.
So Tony Romo's just basically looking forward to another beating, which I don't mind having to see that. He's not exactly like the elite quarterback in his division, Eli Manning. And we're going to get into some of the quarterback news out there. Drew Brees made his 47th consecutive game with a touchdown, which ties Johnny Unitas for that record, and he looks towards beating that record on Sunday Night Football against the Chargers, which he most likely will do. Yeah. And he also, of course, leads the league in passing yards, just like he did the past 2 seasons with 1,350, which actually puts him on pace to shatter the record that he broke last year with on pace for 5,700. But do you know who's in second place in passing yards this season?
It couldn't be that guy that plays for the New York team, could it?
Yeah, I'll give you another hint though. It's he's one of the other elite quarterbacks in the league. Yes, it is that guy that plays for the Giants by the name of Eli Manning that has all that immense hate towards him, and he's second, just 30 yards behind Drew Brees with 1320, which will put him on pace to break Dan Marino's record as well. Yeah. Dan Marino's previous record that Drew Brees holds now. He's on pace to finish the season with 5,280. He almost hit 5,000 last year. Looks like he's going to break it this year. Haters have to be quiet for a while because Eli Manning is doing his thing. And even though they had that heartbreaking loss against the Cowgirls, that heartbreaking loss earlier against the Eagles, another division rival, 19-17 on that missed field goal because of the fact that they had the offensive pass interference, which pushed them 10 yards back. But interesting ending to that game. What do you think as far as freezing the kicker and how that works? Do you think it's a good strategy?
You know what? It's 50-50, to be honest with you. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, they called that timeout, and Lawrence Tynes actually missed the field goal, which it worked. It actually worked itself out because he still wound up missing the second one. But you know what? I've seen situations where they've called a timeout to freeze the kicker, and when they made the kick, and then they come back and miss the second kick. So it's 50-50. It's kind of, I look at it as the same thing, with in basketball when they call the timeouts before the free throws in the fourth quarter from time to time. But like I said, it's 50-50. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Everybody can't handle the big moments all of the time. We've seen a lot of great kickers. Vinatieri in our time make some amazing kicks. But then we've seen, like we saw Grotzkowski missed for the Patriots a couple of weeks ago against the Cardinals. So it's really 50-50.
I think it's happening a little bit too often. Where I mean, even though Tynes missed it, at first he was going wide, and this time he was on point, and it looked like it was going to be good. So he got that second momentum in a sense that he missed the first one, and I don't think it really freezes the kicker, to be honest with you, but. It's like you said, it's hit or miss. And in this particular case, it didn't come back to bite him because he missed the second shot anyway. But it also gave Tom Coughlin the opportunity to change his game plan. And since it was on third down, he could have given Eli Manning a chance to go and shoot for the end zone or shoot for the sidelines and pick up more yardage to make the kick a little bit easier. Do you think Tom Coughlin made the right decision with letting Tynes kick again instead of giving the ball to Eli?
You know what? First of all, I think the bad coaching calls came prior to that. I think that before we even got to the field goal, I thought they should have just ran the ball up a little bit more and took the field goal while they were a lot closer, because that pass interference penalty is what really threw things off for the Giants. If they were at that first spot, they would have made that field goal hands down, because we saw that he had the distance. The first time he was just wide left, and the second time, I guess he didn't have the leg strength anymore after that. So,
yeah, he didn't put in as much leg into it, but he got the accuracy point down right. But I do agree with Coughlin's call, because I think after the timeout, it made Tynes focus a little bit more, and it seemed like he seemed like you said, it was just a little bit short. So I think you got to give it to your kicker at that point. He had the chance to redeem himself after missing the first one that ended up not counting. So I think he made the right decision, and obviously the offensive pass interference is what affected that game. But a lot of interesting things happening in the NFL the past few weeks. So I was mentioning it before on this Sunday's episode on our radio show, which airs every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our website, realfansrealtalk.com. And you could also check out for our special show times. You could check out us on Facebook, facebook.com/realfansrealtalk. Make sure you like us on Facebook. You'll get the updates on the show times when we're about to air, to get some reminders, as well as some funny photos and sports topics that we have on there as well. We air live on BronxNet every Tuesday from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I was mentioning on the radio show, a lot of surprises in the NFL, and I was saying that the Cardinals being 4-0, it was the biggest surprise. But then I was thinking about it because the Saints lost again on Sunday, and that was a big surprise as well. And now they're 0-4. So what do you think is the biggest surprise? The Cardinals being 4-0, or the New Orleans Saints, which was a titan in the NFC last year, being 0-4?
You know what? I'm gonna still say the Cardinals are the biggest surprise, being 4-0, just because we knew that the Saints weren't gonna be themselves, and I think that the fact that this schedule kind of played a big factor into that 0-4. It just it was bad that they ran into the Packers this last week.
Thing, though, but the Redskins and the Panthers should have been automatic victories for the Saints too. I mean, I said the Cardinals on Sunday, but I think it's a toss-up between either one of those two, because I mean, the Cardinals coming into Gillette Stadium and beating the New England Patriots, that's hard to do unless your name is Eli Manning, who does it all the time. But it's a difficult task to accomplish, and the Cardinals weren't expected to be a threat in the NFL, and they're coming out here 4-0, which is a huge shocker. So,
that defense is amazing right now.
I also think, though, with the New Orleans Saints, them defensively, because of the bounty scandal, because of them not having their head coach or defensive coordinator, because of the bounty scandal, the suspensions with the guys, even though the suspensions were reversed, they weren't there in training camp, they weren't there for the preseason. So I think that affected them a lot defensively. Obviously, Drew Brees is doing his thing because he's first in the league in yards, so he's trying to do his part on that end, but it's just not happening defensively. And then I didn't think 0-4 though. I mean, that's definitely a little ridiculous. But
if it was 2-2, I'm like, all right, well, 0-4, that is pretty bad. But the Cardinals, I don't think anybody expected them to play this well, especially not to beat the Patriots and the Eagles on back-to-back weeks, and then they come back again and take the not that the Dolphins is a top-tier team, but the offense actually carried them to that victory in that game because they were down, and they managed to tie things back up and come in and take it to overtime and win that game with the field goal. So the offense actually stepped up. Now, if they can be on the same page as the defense this entire season, that NFC West is going to be a problem because you have the 49ers who had one of the best defensive last season coming into this season, and then the Seahawks defense is pretty good, and you got the Cardinals defense, and they're 4-0 right now. That division is looking very strong.
Yeah, it's definitely, speaking of another, not really too much of a shocker, but another beating that happened out there. The other team in New York that happens to wear green, the New Jersey, I got to call them the New Jersey Jets. I can't even call them. I can't keep them in. I mean, they play in New Jersey. The Giants play in New Jersey as well in the same stadium, but
we don't count that.
Let's just switch from New York to New Jersey. They're an embarrassment. 34-0, San Francisco demolished them, which leads me to a hot topic out there in sports right now. Should Tim Tebow replace Mark Sanchez at this point in the season?
And my answer to that is no. Tim Tebow is horrible. Do not listen to guys like Skip Bayless who swear that he walks on water. The man cannot throw. He's not going to come in there and do anything different from what Mark Sanchez is doing. The team as a whole is just playing horribly right now. The secondary is completely beat down. They've already lost Revis for the season. Cromartie is out. They're trying to put in Joe McKnight, who's a running back, who's their third-string running back, and turn him into a cornerback. So that secondary is completely depleted. All right, the offensive line, we know that they've had their struggles. All right, and Tebow is not an upgrade for Mark Sanchez. If anything, they're on the same. But I'd actually still take Mark Sanchez over Tim Tebow. All right, the only thing that you get with Tim Tebow is the winner of a popularity contest, and you might like to see him Tebowing every now and then if he gets into the end zone. But I don't think that he's the answer to the Jets' problems. They need to rebuild that offensive line. They need the running game to be to improve drastically. Sean Green has not played well since that final AFC Championship game that they were in like 2 years ago, and then they got to rebuild that secondary because they are looking horrible. So no, it's not. He's not the answer.
Yeah, it's a tough situation over there because Sanchez has to be feeling the pressure that Tebow's even on the field, but the offensive line is the problem. I mean, they can't run the ball well, they can't pass the ball well, they can't seem to be able to do anything well because of that offensive line. And I mentioned on the Real Fans Real Talk group page that after the beating that the Cowgirls received, that the slogan in Dallas should be Tony Romo. At least it's not Mark Sanchez. So it's that's the slogan in Dallas.
Although I don't think that Sanchez has 5 interceptions on the year yet, let alone 5 interceptions in one game. So maybe Sanchez might be the answer.
Even though the first play of the season was an interception for Sanchez.
Yeah. But they won that game. So
I do think, though, like I said a little earlier, that the fact that Tebow's out there is affecting Mark Sanchez's play. He's worried about his job. It affected him from the beginning of the season, in the preseason, before the preseason even started. As soon as Tim Tebow was signed by the Jets, it affected Mark Sanchez mentally, and it wasn't a smart move for the Jets in the first place. But I see. Do you see Tebow starting? Do you think Rex Ryan is going to put him in? Not the next game, but at some point in the season?
I mean, it really has to be Mark Sanchez's fault. And I don't think that their problems, the losses is not like it's just, Mark Sanchez just threw 4 interceptions or, whatever the case may be. It's not, just solely based on Mark Sanchez. The offensive line is not protecting him, and they're not going to protect Tim Tebow any better. That's just, it is what it is. And then, like I said, the defense is bad right now. They have so many injuries on the defense, and they're usually a very good defensive ball club. And that doesn't help, you know what I mean? So unless it gets to the point where it's like in Denver with the whole Kyle Orton thing, where the fans were just getting in everybody's head and saying we want this, we want that, you know what I mean? I don't see them taking out Sanchez right now.
Yeah, I don't think now, but I think at some point in the season they're just going to do it just to shake things up a bit, unless they. Towards the end of the season, if they see that there's almost no shot for the playoffs, they might throw Tebow in. He does have that leadership ability. A lot of people on the team feel that he has that ability to hype the team up. Maybe the offensive line will get a spark if he's under center. So they might do it just to shake things up, even though it's not Sanchez's fault. Yeah. But I don't think Sanchez is playing at the level that he could have, which isn't good in the first place. If they didn't sign Tim Tebow,
it sucks for him, but you know what? Because even like I said this, with last week's game, where Sanchez actually brought them down the field, scored a touchdown, and the defense almost gave it back up. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's just Sanchez. It does suck that they bring in Tim Tebow, and now he's got to deal with that along with all the other pressures that he's facing. But again, it's the Jets, and you always have those New York Football Giants. And they make things happen. They make miracles happen. They'll lead you back to the promised land. So it's okay. You still got time. Just come on over to the blue side of things. Exactly. and you guys will be okay. All right. That's it. That's all I got to say.
There is some sad news in football, though. Trip Young, you want to get into that as?
Yes. I always, because I feel like the last couple of weeks we've been just delivering sad news in these shows, and the Colts head coach Pagano, Coach Pagano, he is actually, I guess they diagnosed him with leukemia, so he's going to be out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Jim Irsay, he actually says that he's probably not going to be taking part in football activity this season after that, and that really sucks,
I mean, Andrew Luck also had a comment that this is more important, and then we'll go back to playing this child's game or something like that. So obviously, you could see that Luck was affected by the news as well, even though he hasn't been on the team that long. It's definitely a sad story.
Yeah. You gotta think it's because each team is a family and it's a brotherhood when you're on that field. You know what I mean? And that includes, that's everybody from the players on the field to the coaching staff to the GM to the owners. There's still is one big family. So when somebody on the team, goes down or something like this happens, everybody kind of pulls together. And we definitely wish you all the best, Coach P. We wish you a speedy recovery from the Real Fans Real Talk team. So get back, get better, get yourself back on the sidelines, and take the reins and lead your team.
When you talk about the family thing, it just brings me to another topic that we mentioned on Sunday's radio show with Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett, as far as the comments and not being friends anymore, not associating with each other just because they went to an opposing team. When you're part of a team, that is like a family. You spend a lot of time with each other, and you develop friendships. And just because he's playing for a rival team or any other team for that matter, I don't think that should be the case. And I mean, we touched on that on the radio show, which airs Sundays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the RealFansRealTalk.com website. We also have different blogs out there as well. The artist formerly known as Intern Tom Delgado, had a blog on the Ryder Cup for all the golf information for all you golf fans out there. Make sure you check that out on the homepage on RealFansRealTalk.com. And we do air live every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on BronxNet Television. We also have all our previous episodes on the RealFansRealTalk.com website. Just go to RFRT Media, and on the drop-down menu, RFRT TV, and you could check out all our previous episodes as well as stream the live internet feed from BronxNet for our program every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In other basketball news, though, Kobe Bryant had some words to say about his all-star lineup. He was like, I don't want to get into, sharing, but no, it's my team. I love it personally. I love the way I love his interviews. His interviews have me rolling every time he goes out there. It's my team, but
the Sprite commercial, outplay the Kobe, son. Don't try it. I mean, what do you expect? This Kobe being Kobe, that's the Spike Lee documentary, Kobe being Kobe. Yeah, I mean, you know what? It is Kobe's team still. However, it's gonna, whether they win or not, is gonna rest on the back and the play of Dwight Howard. So which I think is more important than the team just being Kobe's team.
Well, he said he's gonna, in his interview, that he's kind of gonna be passing the torch over to Dwight Howard. But Dwight Howard isn't even signed for next season yet. So I mean, he's trying to kind of convince Dwight Howard to continue staying with the Lakers. But he was saying basically that he was gonna make it where prep Dwight Howard and teach him everything he knows, so that way when he does leave, it'll be Dwight Howard's team in the future. So those are some words to try to convince Dwight Howard to stay in a historic franchise like the LA Lakers. And it's interesting, but it brings us to our fan mail question. Clyde from Harlem writes, "What's your thoughts on Kobe not being in the top 5 on the 2013 ESPN NBA rankings?" The rankings were, number 1, you had, of course, LeBron James, who I used to call LeBum James back in the day, but I'm starting to hate him a little bit less, so that's fine. And then number 2, Kevin Durant, I also agree with. Kevin Durant, runner-up for the MVP as well, scoring 3-time scoring champion as well. Number 3, who we just mentioned, Dwight Howard. So he's ranked higher on ESPN than Kobe Bryant is, but as far as Kobe Bryant's leadership qualities and everything, that goes without saying because of how long he's been with the Lakers. Yeah. And then number 4 was CP3, who's also in LA, just plays for the Clippers, trying to bring that Clippers franchise to relevancy with him and Blake Griffin, arguably the best point guard in the game. And then number 5, Derrick Rose, former MVP, who was out for most of the season last year with injuries. He's going to start out the season on injuries as well with the torn ACL. We talked about it on the RealFansRealTalk.com radio show. We all kind of basically agree with that top 5, and I'm not really mad at it, Clyde, to be honest with you, because I don't think, just because of his career, he's one of the greatest of all time, but at this stage of his career, he's not one of the top 5 best. So I can't put him in the top 5 either. I could see how it's debatable, though. But
you know what? I do agree with you, and I want to point this little tidbit of information. Now, there's a funny thing, an article that I read last night that was actually posted up by Face Facts, who you guys seen here on the show, and one of our other co-hosts on the radio on RealFansRealTalk.com. And the point that he made, it, one of the people who is a voter on the ESPN ranking system, he actually said that, I guess they do it on a 1 to 10 ranking system, and he ranked Kobe an 8 out of 10. And he said that actually he really should have ranked him a 7, but a lot of times what happens is these guys factor in, careers and what they've done. So that's kind of why he boosted Kobe up to an 8. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, I'm sure, and he even said this himself, that he probably wasn't the only one of the voters who actually kind of did that in their voting. So it's quite possible that he definitely shouldn't have been in the top 5. He may, he's at number 6, which I think is fair, but it's possible that he could have been a few spots back, if the thinking of a lot of people that did the voting was similar to that. But either way, we know who was number 1 on that list, King James, the baddest man on the planet. The best basketball player in the world right now. So
yeah, let's not talk about that anymore.
But I do. Let me. I want to quickly interrupt because we just got a special delivery on the set, and this is actually from the Ring 10 New York event that Real Fans Real Talk covered a couple of weeks ago. As you guys know, we are big boxing fans. If you see the set, we always got the boxing gloves out, and we actually got a special delivery from Big Daddy himself, Riddick Bowe. He autograph signed this boxing glove for the family here at Real Fans Real Talk. So we're gonna just set this up right here. I don't know if we can get a good shot of that. You see the signature. That's Big Daddy right there. Big, not me, because they call me that. But this is Big Daddy All right, so
Well, that's why he said
Riddick Bowe.
All three of us have that
Yeah.
nickname, Big
So
Daddy.
not to be
so
not
I
to be
guess-
confused, but this is Riddick Bowe, Big Daddy Bowe, and he sent that over for the guy. So we're just gonna set that up here. Let me move this football out the way. Get that, cause that's from Riddick Bowe himself, the man. All right, so.
He did. I remember the fight that he had against the Pride of Poland, Andrew Galata.
Yeah.
And Galata was demolishing him, and
Yeah.
my background, even though I was born in Brooklyn, is Polish. So my family and all the folks back in Poland were rooting for Galata, and he couldn't get. Even though Riddick Bowe was acting like he was getting low blows. Galata, even though he had the fight dominated, he couldn't keep those fists high, and he ended up being disqualified because of the low blows. So, but that was definitely a great charity event. Ring10ny.com is the website if you want to donate or find out more information. What the charity is about basically is former boxers that become unfortunate financial circumstances after they retire. Ring 10 kind of helps them out. We had Iran Barkley on the show earlier. He had a story where he was homeless at one point. Riddick Bowe himself, Big Daddy Bowe, he went through some difficulties as well, and Ring 10 helped him out. And we got to meet a lot of great names in boxing. As you notice, if you saw the beginning of the show, Harold Letterman, HBO's Letterman card, who I interviewed, which is also on the RealFansRealTalk.com website under videos under RFRT. Me and Harold Letterman talked it out about different subjects in boxing, including Pacquiao versus Mayweather. And there was a few interviews there. Trip Young had his share of interviews as well, and it was definitely an enjoyable event for a good cause. So if you guys want to find out more about that, it's ring10ny.com, which is also under the charity section of our page. We'll we have the link to their site as well.
Exactly.
So.
If you haven't seen the interview with Harold Letterman, you got to check that out. Go on our YouTube page, or you can check on the website, because it is posted on the website, realfansrealtalk.com, and watch that interview, because like Statman said, he goes into about the Mayweather Pacquiao fight going down in 2013. So definitely check that out and see what he's got to say. Plus, he's just a legend in boxing. It's always good to when you can get a first-hand discussion, about a particular sport with one of these guys. So check that out. It will be on the web. And shout out to Riddick Bowe again for dropping off that glove that just came in the mail. That's fresh. UPS just dropped that off. I think they signed for it upstairs. That's from Big Daddy Riddick Bowe. So good looking. Thanks for that. We really appreciate it here. And we definitely got some more sports to talk about.
Well, speaking of memorabilia, though, Derek Jeter, he's in the top 10 already for hits, and that's boosting up his jersey sales, because he leads sales for the third straight year. So it's Jeter's doing his thing out there, and the fans definitely appreciate it. That Yankee, normally it's blue. I got the neon green little. So I know we are in the Bronx, and I'm flossing my Brooklyn shirt, but that's my roots. Don't hate. And that Yankee logo is one of the most famous logos in sports, and Derek Jeter's the most famous.
In general, it's not even just in sports. That's just in general. When you see that sign right there, everybody knows what that is. And shout out to Derek Jeter. He definitely is the man. Definitely well deserving. He's having another great season. He tied Lou Gehrig this year for 8 seasons with 200 or more, 200 plus hits. And he's not stopping anytime soon. He's got a couple of more championships in him, and he's going to get them. And we get money in New York. You see the Giants were in the top 5, on the Forbes list amongst NFL teams, as were the Yankees. And Derek Jeter is a big part of that, with those jersey sales, and then these New York Yankee hats, because as you see, you can get these hats in all different flavors, all different styles. If you want a snapback, you can get you a snapback. That Yankee logo.
Snapback's back, corn the Tigers. So.
Is all around the world. We even we got friends in Africa and Ghana who I know wear Yankee fitteds, and they support the show. So that Yankee logo is just everywhere. You gotta love it though. So shout out to the Yankees.
And he also did help out in the fact that the Yankees have clinched a playoff spot, but so has all the teams in the American League. The playoffs are officially, they're not set, but we have the 6 teams. It's just a matter of ordering in the bracket. The Yankees have the one game lead to clinch lead the division, against Baltimore. So it's depending on who's the wild card and who's winning the division, but that's already locked up. They're both in the playoffs one way or the other. Detroit takes the Central, and the only other division up for grabs is Texas and Oakland, which is the American League West. And they're fighting for who wins the division or who goes into the wild card. But Oakland is in there. I thought the Angels were going to be in the playoff situation.
Spent all that money on Pujols.
Yeah,
and it definitely
did not get the job done. But going over to Detroit, what do you think about this Triple Crown race going on with Miguel Cabrera? He actually leads all categories right now for it. He jumped into the lead yesterday.
He's tied. He's not tied with home runs.
Well, he's tied, but the way it works with the Triple Crown is if you're tied in one of the categories, you still can get the Triple Crown.
Okay.
Because he's tied for first. And there hasn't been a Triple Crown winner since 1967. So that's home runs, RBIs, and batting average. Yeah. It hasn't happened in a long time since before both of our ages combined were born. So
yeah, even though Statman is kind of old.
I am pretty much on the old side, old man Statman. Yeah, but that's why I remember all the stats from Babe Ruth and all that stuff. I was there, you know. So, but it's
Yeah, you know what? I'd like to see him get it just because, like you said, I would like to see someone get the Triple Crown in our time. You know, and I like Cabrera. He's a great player. He's a class act. So I wouldn't mind if it was him. I mean, I prefer it be somebody from the Yankees that get it. But you know, we'll go with Cabrera since he's there right now. Hopefully he can get it. He can stay on top. They got 2 games left. So you know, if he can keep it up with those 2 games, he's definitely gonna have to keep hitting. You know, if he can get another home run to kind of like lock it in there, you know, and just hold that down, I think they'll be good. But
yeah, well, speaking of being an old man, and we do this segment called "This Day in Sports History," so we're gonna do a little throwback of things that happened on this date in sports history. I'll start it off. In 1954, the New York Giants complete a sweep of the Cleveland Indians, which is the 51st and the 51st World Series. So when I said the New York Giants, that's the baseball. There's just I know everyone knows I'm a diehard New York Giants fan, but this was when the New York Giants played in the Polo Grounds before they went over to San Francisco Giants in baseball.
Exactly. So if you guys didn't know, the Giants as well as the Dodgers were both New York teams prior to going out west to California. So
for all of those young bucks out there that aren't as old as the Statman, but thank you for clarifying that trivia.
Yeah, I didn't mean to show your age or anything like that.
That's all right. It's all right. You know, I remember that. It was good times back then going to the Polo Grounds.
Back in his day, he's gonna be on the set of Walker pretty soon. Yeah. So, but don't worry about the Statman. I got your back. Don't worry about it. But in 1974. Hank Aaron hit his 733rd home run, and that was during his last at-bat in the National League. We know Hank Aaron, one of the greatest baseball players to ever do it. He actually is second now on the home runs list because, of course, Barry Bonds did pass him a couple of years ago. But shout out to Hank Aaron for accomplishing that feat.
And also in 1980, Larry Holmes TKOs Muhammad Ali in the 11th round for a heavyweight boxing title. That was a demolishing fight. Holmes just abused Ali. Ali should have never came back. It was against his doctor's orders, and it was something that he shouldn't have done. And he did it for the money, which is kind of what we talk about with Ring 10. And you know, and it's something that it's a perfect example of when you're supposed to quit and things that happen. And you know, I saw a 30 for 30 edition that talks in detail about Larry Holmes and the Muhammad Ali fight, and it was sad to see for a lot of boxing fans. I was actually born the year after that, but I just know the history of it, and it's sad. And it's those 30 for 30 documentaries, I do got to give it up. They're very interesting. They just had one air last night about being broke and different athletes paying, former Antoine Walker of the Celtics spent $115 million or something like that, taking care of 15 of his friends, and then ends up being broke. So it happens not just in boxing, it happens in a lot of sports, but that's some of the things why, ring 10 is in place for boxing guys who end up having, all those head injuries and end up being broke, and a lot of sad stories in boxing, but that was an abusive fight there with Larry Holmes in 1980. So.
Yeah, kind of sucks, with that fight, because Muhammad Ali really should not have been fighting in that fight. But of course, you have these promoters.
And he did it for the money. He came in and said he did it for
Yeah,
the money. That's it.
That was pretty much it, because he
come at
knew
you with those millions, and that's it.
Hey man, can't knock the hustle. You know what I mean? It definitely, when the money is on the table, but he should not have been in the ring for that last fight. Everybody knew it. But of course, Don King, he had the gift of the gab, and he was able to get Muhammad Ali, pushed up them numbers, pushed the right numbers, and he was able to get Muhammad Ali to get back in the ring. And we saw the outcome of that. We saw that was a very bad decision, and that he shouldn't have been in the ring. And it really does suck, because Muhammad Ali's career was probably one of the best that we've seen, for a heavyweight fighter, with everything that he's been through, the hardships and everything. And then for that fight to it really kind of, it really messed him up, and it really sucks. So, but again, that was this day in sports history. Shout out to those guys. Shout out to those New York baseball giants, not to be confused with the football giants that we speak about here on this show, Real Fans Real Talk.
Speaking of history, though, as far as you mentioned the Brooklyn Dodgers. I was at the opening of the Barclays Center with Jay-Z on this past Friday, the 28th, which was the first day that the Barclays Center was opening. So another thing that the Statman witnessed in history, I saw Ebbets Field, I saw the Polo Grounds.
Question.
Now I get the opening of the Barclays Center.
Who is older, you or Jay-Z? Oh, you don't have to tell people. You know what? No, don't tell the people. They don't tell them. Don't tell them. Let them figure that out. If you guys want to write in, send us that fan mail. Fan mail at realfansrealtalk.com, and we'll call this segment guess the Statman's age, and if you get that,
I kind of gave it away a little earlier in this moment in sports history when I said the year I was born, kind of. But still,
if you get it right, we'll send you a Real Fans Real Talk T-shirt. So send those fan mail answers in, and we'll let you guys know if you are right, and then we'll announce it on the air when we actually get somebody to send in the right number.
But Jay-Z did show off the Jackie Robinson jersey, the Brooklyn Dodgers 42 jersey, and saying this is what it's all about in the history of Brooklyn, the history of black athletes, and it was definitely a historic moment. I was glad to have been in the building with a lot of other celebrities. Your man Salsa Victor Cruz was in the building as well. So
Victor Cruz is everywhere, man. He's all over the place, and you also were able to chop it up with Pharrell and Memphis Bleak as well. If you guys don't know, I mean, you got to know who Pharrell is, Star Trek and all that. So you got to know who Pharrell is, and Memphis Bleak. If you don't know who Memphis Bleak, all you got to know is that he's a millionaire because Jay put him in his will somewhere and said he's a millionaire. So
Beyonce was in the building standing behind me too, and then when my crew took a picture. The next thing you know, security's coming over like with paparazzi. I had to flash the press pass, Real Fans Real Talk, and let them back off a little bit. Show them
who you are.
Exactly.
They didn't know you was a Statman.
They didn't know I was the Statman.
Yeah, that's
what happened basically. But they figured it out though. It's all good. We made up on that.
I understand. You didn't try to make a pass at Beyonce, did you? Because I know how you get sometimes.
No. That's Jay-Z's piece.
Okay, all right, good. I don't listen.
Gotta respect that.
All right, cool.
If it was someone else's, it would be a different story.
All right, but that's Hov. You can't do that to Jay-Z. But shout out to Jay-Z, part owner of the Nets. He was definitely big in helping to bring the Nets over to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn is really just gonna be on fire this year. The Nets are looking good. They're starting off with a very good team. Bringing in Joe Johnson in the offseason, re-signing Darren Williams and Gerald Wallace. As well as Brook Lopez, and if they can stay healthy this year. they'll be able to make some noise in the Eastern Conference and get back to the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Before we get back to football, we have another injury. It's bad enough that there's no hockey going on, but my boy Rick Nash, who just got signed by the Rangers, even though there's a lockout and there's no hockey going on, he gets a shoulder injury in a game that he's playing out there in Switzerland, because a lot of these guys are signing all over the country because they want to play hockey and they want to get paid, and that's what they do. So they're getting money elsewhere, and Rick Nash is unfortunately injured with a shoulder injury. No exact time on when he's going to return, but let's hope hockey in general returns first before we worry too much about that.
We need to be worrying about getting hockey back in the first place.
Exactly, but where it belongs in the NHL, where I could go to the Garden and watch my Rangers win another Stanley Cup, because that hasn't happened in 18 years now. But
they're about due.
They're about to. I think it's about that time. Well, it took them 50 years last time, so let's hope it doesn't take them 50 this time.
Another
so
50 years.
It went from 50. But getting into you want to get into the NCAA to give the folks out there a little recap on what happened in the NCAA this past weekend?
Yeah, the top 5 is still intact. We did have a little shift. LSU has been bumped back to the number 4 seed, and Florida State has moved up to the number 3 seed. Oregon is still number 2, and we still got Crimson Tide looking very strong at number 1. However, they did lose DeAndrew White for the season. He's one of their big wideouts. Which kind of sucks, but they are good at compensating and filling in spots when somebody goes down. So I think they'll be okay. As we saw with last year from this year, where they lost, 4 starters on defense. They lost Trent Richardson, who's doing very well for the Browns right now. So I do think that they will be okay. They're still in first place, and they're winning dominantly. They beat Ole Miss this past Saturday, so they're looking very good. As with Oregon, the running game is looking amazing, and as we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, they got that kid coming in who rushed for close to 700 yards in high school, so they're going to be good for a few years to come.
A whole bunch of touchdowns too. He surpassed that Al Bundy who Married with Children record.
Polka 4 touchdowns in a single game.
He demolished that record. I think it was 8 touchdowns or something in a high school game, 700 yards. That's insane.
Maybe the Jets can get him in a couple of years, and he'll help out with the running game, because they definitely need something.
But we do. I just want to remind everyone, we are live here in the Bronx on channel 68 on Cablevision, channel 35 on Verizon. We air every Tuesday night, 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to take another fan mail question, but before we do, I just want to let you guys know our fan mail email address is fanmail@realfansrealtalk.com. Our individual contact information, including our Twitter addresses, our individual emails, are on the realfansrealtalk.com website under the contact section of the page. So make sure you check that out as well and hit us up individually. We do appreciate the fan mail questions. We had to actually take one from the Bronx. We had Joey from the Bronx actually ask, which undefeated team will take a loss first, Arizona, Houston, or Atlanta? That's a tough one. I would like to say Arizona, but because they're the biggest shocker, but they're playing the Rams this Thursday, so I don't think they're going to take a loss.
They actually don't have a tough opponent until, I believe, week 8 when they play the 49ers.
Yeah.
So
and the Falcons have the Redskins, so even though the Redskins will manage to upset the Saints aren't doing too great this season. And I think Houston's the best team out of there, but I just think that they have the tougher schedule, so I'm probably going to have to go with Houston on that one.
Yeah, I think Houston as well. Houston, although that defense is playing well, and Shab and Andre Johnson are getting that chemistry back together again, they're the one team out of the 3 that I'm not 100% sold on just yet because of who they've played so far. And I know they have a tough part of their schedule coming up now, so this is going to be the test really for them. So I got to say Houston as well.
Yeah, they do have the bye week this week though, so it's a possible. They get to stay undefeated for one more week at least. But I think they're actually the best team out of the three, though. I am convinced on them. I thought that they had a great defense last year, and I think their offense is clicking better this year. So I see them being. Well, Atlanta's tough too, so it's definitely a tough question. But thanks for writing in, Joey. And once again, the fan mail address is fanmail@realfansrealtalk. We're getting into another fan mail question in a second, but I just want to remind everyone that we are also, our radio show is live also every 7:30 p.m. every Sunday night, right after the second batch of football games and before the Sunday night football game. So after you get your football fix in, get your Real Fans Real Talk fix in, and check us out along with our other co-hosts like Arthur Damas, who's the most diabolical hater this side of the Mississippi. We got the artist formerly known as Intern Tom Delgado. We also got Face Facts in the building, and then of course Sean Fontaine joins us every now and then here on Real Fans Real Talk. And we got that Eli Manning jersey waiting for you when you come back, Sean, as well. So you want to get into the next fan mail question, though, Trippian?
Yeah, definitely. This is actually Francis from Greenwich, Connecticut. Shout out to Greenwich, man. I'm glad y'all supporting us and showing us that love. And he asks, what you guys pick for the Battle of Pennsylvania next Sunday? And that is, of course, the Eagles going to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers.
Well, aside from the fact that I hate the Eagles because they're in the Giants division, the Steelers have always been a more dominant team. Plus, they're playing at home, so I'm gonna have to go with Big Ben and the Steelers on that one. It's definitely a big battle. It's gonna be a tough battle, though.
Yeah.
The Eagles are looking good this year. I got to give them their credit. They did just beat my Giants. They got a little lucky. It happens, you know. Vic is actually injured again with a foot injury.
Oh my goodness.
And he had a Kevlar. I never knew this until they showed it during the show. He has a Kevlar vest that's bulletproof, basically. A thin Kevlar vest.
It's not
custom-made.
linebacker proof, and that's the problem.
Well, and then he injures his foot. He injures his leg anyway.
Well, he didn't
So
have the Kevlar ankle bracelet, so it's something.
He's got to come out. The NASA or something's got to design some robot gear because he is Mr. Glass. He's getting hurt constantly, and he should most likely be back for that game against Pittsburgh. But we'll see what happens. He is Mr. Glass. He might get hurt on the flight over there or the drive over there because somebody breathes on him too hard or something. So I'm picking the Steelers.
I gotta say the Steelers too. You know, because one, they're coming back healthy. Troy Polamalu and Ryan Clark will both be back for this game, and like you said, they are playing in Pittsburgh. You know, which is going to be definitely a good home court advantage for them playing up there. And like you said, Vic is injured. He's coming, you know, and they haven't really impressed me yet, the Eagles. You know what I mean? Like they are the best right now in the NFC East, but they have not impressed me just yet. And going up against that Steelers defense, which is also very fast, they're gonna have a lot of problems dealing with them. So I'm taking the Steelers.
Some of the Philly fans out there on the Real Fans Real Talk group page are like, oh, well, the Eagles are the first in the NFC East. Oh, wow, 4 games into the season, we might as well just hand them the division, right? We might as well just hand them the Super Bowl. Forget about the rest of the season. You got it all off.
Well,
listen, it's 4 games into the season, so what? They're first in the NFC East.
Yeah.
Seriously.
They got to make the playoffs first.
The Giants do have an easy week coming up ahead of them, though. They go up against the Browns. The Packers are playing over at the Colts. The Colts, obviously, with the sad story with their coach. Falcons at the Redskins. Your boys, the Ravens, go up against the Chiefs. So there's a few interesting games over there. A lot of things going on as far as like I said earlier with the Sunday Night Football. You have the Saints go up against the Chargers and have Drew Brees go for that record. And I was looking at the Sunday lineup, and I said earlier the Texans have a bye week, but they actually have to play the Jets technically, but that's kind of like a bye week. So just so you guys know, they play Monday Night Football against the Jets.
Yes.
It's a bye week for them basically. So
that should be good. Oh my goodness, what are we gonna do with those Jets, ladies and gentlemen? But like I said, You have the Giants, and it's not too late to come over to
Come
the
over to the
big,
blue side.
Big blue side.
Get rid of the green instead of gold
Yeah.
green. Get rid of green and come over to the blue side of things.
Exactly.
That's the winning
Listen,
side. I mean,
we're
there's no reason to be miserable and have to deal with the
Yeah.
Sanchez, Tebow drama, everything that goes on associated with the Jets. You got your head coach calling out Super Bowls before every season and disappointing you. So it's ridiculous. You come over to the blue side, Jets fan. I feel sorry. I'm just trying to help you out, Jets fans. That's all I'm saying.
We already got Fontaine. He's gonna be wearing his Giants jersey next week and showing his appreciation.
We had Arthur Damas.
And we did have Arthur Damas.
Who is a Jets fan? He had to wear that in week 2 of Real Fans Real Talk.
Exactly. Also, he's the biggest hater, but he definitely took his medicine and wore that Giants jersey. Shout out to Arthur Damas too. He is still on his hatecation, and basically what goes on the hatecation is he gets together with the other haters around the world, from all different countries, and this is amazing. You find the biggest haters from every country. They all come together for these hatecations, and they practice hate, and they hate on just different things. Not just sports. They just hate on everything.
Every
aspect of life. They just find new and inventive ways to hate. So shout out to him. He's on this hatecation.
It'll be very interesting to see the adventures, the hate chronicles of Arthur Damas when he does come back. Though it's definitely interesting. He thought he was going to the sea. A perfect example of the hatecation. He didn't even know he was going on hatecation. He thought he was going to the player haters ball, and then when he showed up, there was nobody there because that's what they did to hate on him.
Exactly. That was his initiation into the hatecation club.
And then the hatecation started. Right. So it was good to go.
But we do have some guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're gonna have boxing champ, because I know Iran Barkley got at me about that. So we have boxing champ.
Don't want to be throwing that formal word
exactly.
out there.
Aaron Superman Davis will be joining us in a couple of weeks, right here live in the studio, which is going to be big, and we're going to be working with Aaron Davis on some projects in the future. We're
gonna show those interviews for you guys next week on BronxNet Channel 68. We're gonna have all the boxing interviews that we had, as well as the reality show that I had, the Fully Fit Fighter Fitness Face Off, which you can actually check out that on the RealFansRealTalk.com website, which is also on the RFRT Media. So we'll have all the boxing interviews on there. We'll have that. We'll play that episode in its entirety. It'll be a nice 1-week special that we'll have for you guys next week at 5:30. Boxing, MMA talk. It'll be our Real Fans Real Talk fighting special, so it'll definitely be interesting. Make sure you guys check that one out.
Exactly. I know we're coming to the close, so we got to get into our final thoughts for the show. It's been a real good week for Brooklyn. With the Barclays Center opening up and all of that, and us both being from Brooklyn is great. I love repping the bar. I mean, I go hard for my city in whole, but Brooklyn is definitely doing it. We are again on the map, and basketball is going to be just like everything else that we do. We're going to take over. So shout out to Prokhorov, shout out to Hove for bringing the Nets to Brooklyn, and let's get it going this season.
Every football team that wears green is garbage. So that's all I have to say.
Oh, and I gotta say this before we do get off the air. I want to shout out the lady that keeps us looking very good on the air, Gina. She's our she's our makeup artist behind the scenes working.
Now you're letting everyone know we wear makeup. What's going on?
Gotta shout us out. She holds us down. You know what I mean? But shout out to her.
Make sure you check us out, RealFansRealTalk.com. Have a good night, everyone.
RealFansRealTalk.com, where Arthur Damas, Trip Young, and intern Tom. For the white and black fans, Asia to Manhattan. I get all my facts from my bro Mark the Statman. If you're not tuned in, I recommend the CAT scan. And if your brain checks out, then you deserve a backhand. Sports, gossip, all the hot topics. RealFansRealTalk.com got it. They got the hottest bloggers.
Is Jeremy Lin hurt?
Well, log onto the site and you can hear it from them first. I'm talking about the latest. I'm talking about the greatest. Go check out the archives. Even tell a neighbor. Tell them Bobby sent ya. From spring to winter, tuning in should be the only thing on your agenda. Certified cosign, you know what I'm about, son. RealFansRealTalk.com. I'm out one. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, real talk. realfansrealtalk.com. Realfansrealtalk.com. Real fans, real talk. Real fans, real talk. Realfansrealtalk.com. Realfansrealtalk.com.